Hello, hello. Welcome to the next session of Rosa's Summer Conference. For those of you who might just be joining, I'm Rebecca Gill and I'm the CEO of Rosa. And I'm hosting this session today, which is an opportunity for you to hear from some of Rosa's incredible grantee organisations. As many of you will know, part of Rosa's role is to ensure that we amplify the voices of women's and girls' organisations across the country in order to highlight the breadth and depth of the work that the sector does across all nations and regions to a range of different audiences. And so today I'm excited that you'll be hearing from 7 of our grantee organisations, including Action on Postpartum Psychosis, Utulivu, Feel Good Women's Group, Surviving Economic Abuse, Cardiff Women's Aid and BAWSO, Happy Baby Community, and Fair Treatment for Women of Wales. You will note that this is a webinar format, so that we can't see you, but you can see us. But I will pop up halfway through to recap who the final 4 speakers are, in case you haven't noted it all down. There is no option for verbal questions, but we'd love to read your questions in the Q&A panel that I can then read out. So we are slightly over time starting this seminar, this webinar. So in the interest of time, let me start by introducing Louise from Action on Postpartum Psychosis, who will be followed by Cecily from Utulivu, and then Rizwana from the Feel Good Women's Group. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Action on Postpartum Psychosis received a Rosa Voices from the Frontline grant to support a year of our campaigning work. There are lots of different strands to this, but what was vital were the lived experience stories at the heart of the campaign. It's much, much harder to ignore people who have real stories to tell. At APP, we're campaigning to ensure all women in the UK who develop postpartum psychosis, or PP, have access to a mother and baby unit. As examples of that are pictured on the first slide here, please. MBUs for short are specialist inpatient treatment units where mothers with severe mental illness are admitted with their babies. But the problem is provision in the UK is patchy. There's only 1 in Wales, and that's in the south of the country. There are 2 in Scotland, but the north is poorly served. And most pressing of all, Northern Ireland has no MBU and has never had one. So mothers who develop PP there face being admitted to general psychiatric units. These are unsuitable for women who've recently given birth. And when that happens, they're separated from their babies, making an already traumatic situation even worse. Rosa's grant supported the NBU campaign in 2023. That was a campaign across the UK, but today I'd like to focus on Northern Ireland, the stories from women there, the way those stories shape the campaign and the change that they brought about. So, supported by our Rosa grant, we set out to really make the case about the need for better NBU provision. The aim was to highlight the impact on women who aren't treated in an NBU and their families. But to showcase those voices is a big ask. It can be frightening, daunting for people to share their stories, particularly, as our families told us, in Northern Ireland, which lags behind the rest of the UK. Stigma around mental health issues there remains incredibly high, and it's difficult for families to break down. So we provided support for our storytellers through our Northern Ireland Cafe group. The Rosa grant helped us to hold face-to-face support group meetings, which created a connection and a sense of solidarity. The group built communities of families who felt supported and strengthened by one another, as well as by APP, to take part in campaigning by sharing their stories. An example of that is from Emma, one of our service users who joined the Northern Ireland group. She says, "I experienced postpartum psychosis after the birth of my youngest son in 2016. It was quite lonely here in Northern Ireland, recovering. I didn't feel I had anyone to relate to. This all changed when I found Action on Postpartum Psychosis. I felt and continue to feel like I've met my tribe of mums, and this has been really empowering. It's helped me process this hard part of motherhood. And that's why I volunteered to share my story on our local news channel. I did this on behalf of APP and also for all the other mothers who had to experience PP here in Northern Ireland, as it's horrible and traumatic to not only go through this, but to be separated from your baby at a really crucial time. We found providing peer support through the cafe group gave support for storytellers sharing their stories. Another member of the group, Tara, told us she wouldn't have been brave enough to share my story without the support of the group. The Rosa Grant also helped us employ a media consultant who is based in Northern Ireland, who's got excellent contacts and networks there and a deep understanding of the political situation, sensibilities and challenges there. The consultant worked with our storytellers to place media pieces. And could we show the next slide, please? That's got some examples of some of the media pieces the campaign generated. It included regional press like UTV, Belfast Live, BBC Northern Ireland, the BBC News website, the Belfast Telegraph. We had YouTube discussions and podcasts. And we also placed national pieces about the need for mother and baby unit access in The Guardian, The Observer, and BBC Radio 5 Live. So overall, the campaign resulted in greater public awareness of MBUs and their benefits. By sharing their stories, their real stories, our volunteers galvanised public support and brought the human impact of inequality in service provision to life for politicians and commissioners. And then we had our wow moment, if you like. For the first time, Northern Ireland has announced plans to open a mother and baby unit. Last November, it was announced that the Belfast Trust has been chosen as the site for the new MBU, which is a huge step forward, but there's no funding allocated yet, there's no timeline, and crucially, no plans for women who develop PP before an MBU opens. So we are, of course, committed to continuing the campaign. As I said, there are lots of strands to our campaign, but it was the real stories and the peer support provided for our storytellers that stood out and ultimately made the real difference. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in finding out more about the campaign, there are details on our website, which is app-network.org. Can I just finish by thanking Rosa? We found that funders in general seem reluctant to support campaigning work. So to have the Voices from the Frontline grant was transformational for us and really stood out. It's clear campaigning is a vital part of the sector's work, but we do need the support to do it. So thank you to Rosa.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. It's Cecily here from Utulivu Women's Group. And if we can start sharing it's Utulivu Women's Group. And you may be wondering what Utulivu means. Next slide, please. Utulivu really is a Swahili word, which is a language spoken in the eastern part of Africa, meaning patience. And this is really the story of being the change we seek. It's about empowering women and girls to be that change that they seek out of bitter experiences. And it's based on the principles that when you're going through difficult times, being aloof or being apathetic and being complacent is not the answer. But the answer is considering to be that change for the sake of generations to come, but most importantly for your own sake. So we have been going for the last 20 years. We'll be celebrating 20 years this July. And it has been that journey with a lot of patience. We believe that if nothing changes, nothing will change. Or rather, if you change nothing, nothing is going to change. So it's about being there and considering doing that which you think is important. And it takes a lot of patience, a lot of frustrations, but also a lot of hope. I like what our last speaker, the keynote speaker, ended with, that hope is not something you find, but something that you create. And it is on those principles that Utulivu is founded on. However, we know that confidence undermines that need to change. And therefore, over the years, we have learned to invest in ourselves and also with investing in the team in order to effectively bring that change on. Our color theme is green. You can see I'm wearing green, but we also have a green plant growing there. And that is a metaphor of how we have grown over the years. We also know that the caterpillars we see in our gardens do not start as they are. They go through a metamorphosis, that change. And for us, that has been the change. And therefore, we talk of surviving, moving from survival to thriving. Next slide, please. So as you can see, it's a big jump, from a stage of surviving to a stage of thriving. And what that means for Utulivu is that we spent years being supported, and we are still supported by our local voluntary action and the local authority. And what that local funding helped us do is to grow in confidence and in network, something that we would not have done if we never thrived, or if we never accessed the little funding that they offered. Until this one time, I'm talking about 7 years ago, we stumbled into Rosa funding. And as simple as their logo looks like, we were attracted by their simple vision, which was workable, and most importantly, which aligned with what we had always worked for, we continue to work with. And what we did was that we braved it and seized the moment by linking up with our local voluntary action to support us, put that bid together. And within a few weeks, we got the answer that we got through that funding. It was not a lot of funding, but actually it gave us a lot of confidence and hope that we can have more because people trust us in what we do. So that small pot of funding helped us to grow and thrive. And that was the start of looking for funding outside our local authority. And during COVID, we got funding, the bigger funding from Rosa again, and that helped us build our infrastructure. And then out of that infrastructure, we were able to get funding from the Rotary Fund for 3 years. And on top of that, we got awards for all. So all that was because we put the infrastructure together. We helped our trustees grow in confidence. And then we got 4 employees, something that we had not thought about. So the funding from Rosa did not only help us grow, but also it helped us be spotted by other funders. As we speak, we are getting funding not only from our local authority, but also funders that we had approached before and we were not successful with. Besides that, we have had notable growth on the women and the girls that we support. Women who have started or gone on into businesses, especially catering business, which is always culturally tailored, meeting the real needs of the women. We also have women who have written books. So out of this work that we would have undertaken, we have others. People have realized their dreams. And we have 3 women who have finished their doctorate programs in the academic world. But all that is based on the health and well-being of our women because of the trauma, most of which they went through growing up, and actually wanting to change those narratives by engaging with what we have considered or we considered 20 years ago. And that is the story of our surviving to thriving. We are at the stage now where we are thriving, and we hope to continue working with our local authorities and also our local voluntary action, but looking beyond to connecting with the bigger funders so that we can go even further in the support of our women and girls. One important project that we focus on is on female genital mutilation. The trauma that came with that. We have begun to see women come out of it and then gone on to start their own small self-help groups in order to overcome those traumas, but crucially connecting with the mainstream health services and especially mental health services. Next, please. And this is, for me, really is about the call to action. And this is based on the fact that together we can be that change. And we can only be that change if we grow in confidence. And that confidence, because it is contagious, it will help other women and girls, but also other, not as individuals, but as groups to grow. We also know that one problem solved makes other problems solved more easily. Because when you may help women step into a position of power, that type of influence, and doing that which they see becomes much easier with that support or that achievement that they have made. And so let's connect, let's empower each other, and let's collaborate if we are to be the change that we seek. And lastly, the last slide, please. What I can say is thank you, but also to ask you to be patient in being that change that you make. So let's connect with love, courage, and patience. So thank you, Rosa, and so many other funders who have been attracted by the work Utulivu women have continued to do, which has been the basis of what we sought to do 20 years ago. So thank you.
Okay, Rizwana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rizwana Saeed, and I'm the project coordinator for the Feel Good Women's Group, which is based in Gowan Hill, one of the most deprived area of the Scotland. Our group started about 20 years ago when I was feeling myself a poor health, kept going to the doctors and hospital visits. Then my GP suggested, why not you involve yourself in some kind of physical activities? So with the help of another local organization, we set up this community group. I've been with the group since the day one until today. In the beginning, only around 7 to 8 women who attended the group, but as time passed, we kept growing. And now more than 100 women who come very regularly to our classes. Usually one person comes and she brings up the other and the other friends and family members. So what we do health and well-being activities, which is 3 fitness classes every week, which are yoga, Zumba, and aerobic, which is led by the qualified and insured instructors. We were also running the swimming classes just for the women only, but before COVID, due to some reason and the pool renovation, it's not running at the moment. Our group is open for all the women and the girls age 16 plus. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity or background, but most of the women who attended our group, they are from the Asian background because they feel comfortable and no language barrier for them. Most of the women who come to our group, they suffer obesity, arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, mental health issues, and loneliness. Those who come to the group, they cannot afford the expensive gym membership, or they cannot go to attend the mixed gender classes. So we provide them women-only classes in a safe environment. Apart from these physical activities, we also run the lunch club every week, where we encourage the women to have the low in fat, low calories diet with the tea, coffee, and of course, chit chat. With the help of Rosa funding, we organized the project where we call the speakers every week almost to discuss the current issues, like such as law and financial guidance, how to tackle the mental health issues, how to start your own business, climate change, help with rising energy prices going up, how to deal with hate crime, jewelry making workshops, massage therapy for their relaxation. Most of the ladies who come to our group, they are not in understanding English enough. So, for example, when the letter comes from the NHS, they call them for the smear test, bowel screening, or either the breast screening, they ignore them. So we invited the nurses who educated them why it's important to go for these checkups. So the nurses asked them the things how to deal with the menopause as well, because some of the women are in this age, so they don't know what to do and how to deal with this condition and what diet they should take. We also invited the councillor and the MP. As I mentioned, the area has a lot of issues, lot of its problem, so of which our members brought up during the discussions. We arranged the first aid training so the women can build up their skills. Some women, they come with the domestic issues, domestic violence. So we provide the signpost where they can seek the help. We also arrange the day trips and the festive parties for them. So what's the impact for all these things to these women? Women feel happy, healthy, and they are socializing more with each other. It reduces their loneliness. A woman who is 75 years old, she said, when I get ready for this class, wear my t-shirt and trainers, I feel myself, I'm a 20 years old young girl. Another woman who was in this country for last 18 years, but her husband kept in the dark, and she couldn't get the legal status for this country. So with the help of these speakers, we guided her where she can seek the help. Now she's working in a nursery. We have another very successful story, a lady who is almost 100 kg, and she was suffering a lot of other issues due to overweight. She started our group for a few years ago, and now she comes very regularly, and with the good diet and regular exercise, she is now 55 kg. Similarly, another woman whose husband was having the issue with the health, unconscious. With this first aid training, she provided the CPRs and saved her husband's life. We have a lot successful stories, but unfortunately don't have enough time to cover all these. But we are really thankful to the Rosa funding, who not just giving us the training fund, and they have also supported the BME community. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to represent my group. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rizwana, and Cecily and Louise. And I think the power of those stories and them talking about their organisations just shows exactly how powerful Rosa's funding can be, but also the breadth and depth of the work done by women's and girls' organisations across the United Kingdom. I think I said at the beginning that we would be taking Q&A, and actually I've been informed that we're definitely not able to do that in this session because we've got 4 more organisations to hear from now, which I'm really excited to introduce you to. So you're going to be hearing from Sara from Surviving Economic Abuse, from Stephanie from Cardiff Women's Aid, and Edna from BAWSO, from Ola and Varsha from Happy Baby Community, and from Dee and Debbie from Fair Treatment for the Women of Wales. So we'll be welcoming Sara to Sara to the stage first, sorry.
Yes, Sara.
Good morning, everyone. So next week, many of you will be casting your vote in this year's general election. But just imagine turning up at your local polling booth only to be turned away because you don't have your ID. And you won't be able to come back later because there's no way you're going to be able to get hold of it. Your abusive ex-partner has stolen your ID and there's no safe way for you to get it back. This is one of many tactics of economic abuse that around 1 in 5 UK women has experienced. It often starts with a partner offering to take care of all the bills so you don't have to stress about it, or asking you to take out a loan for him if you really loved him. But it spirals into an abusive partner taking full control of your money and also your belongings. Many women end up destitute with no home, job or possessions and a completely destroyed credit rating. And this leaves them starting not just from scratch, but from behind. So when I took up my role as head of advocacy and communications at the charity Surviving Economic Abuse just over a year ago, I knew that this year's general election was the perfect opportunity to deliver much needed change for economic abuse survivors. While the government recognised economic abuse in law for the first time in the Domestic Abuse Act, it's clear that now so much more needs to be done to turn this law into practice. I knew that by working hand in hand with a group of passionate women who were all driven by their experiences of economic abuse, together we'd be able to engage politicians with the issues facing survivors in a much more meaningful way. So back in 2018, I was working at the charity Women's Aid, where I played a small role supporting the incredible survivor and campaigner Mahala to call for change after she was denied the right to vote in the EU referendum while living in a refuge. She was living in fear that the abuser would track her down. Her powerful story really made politicians sit up and act. And 100 years after the first UK women were granted the right to vote, Mahala changed the law, making it easier for survivors living in refuge to register to vote anonymously, giving them their vote, but also their voices back. So that's why I really wanted to make sure that our campaign, which the Rosa Fund has kindly supported, really amplified survivors' voices after abusers had tried to silence them for so long. So that's why we decided to co-produce our general election campaign alongside survivors. So this was a completely new way of working for the charity. So while involving survivors in our work was part and parcel of the charity's DNA, we're just a small charity of fewer than 30 people, and our even tinier project team had no prior experience of co-producing a campaign of this scale from scratch alongside people with lived experience. But I'd say what united our project group was most definitely our drive and passion for what this project could become. So the campaign itself took a little bit longer than expected to get off the ground. So we held back from starting it because we wanted to wait for our survivor engagement specialists to join the charity, because we just didn't want to do anything without the survivors who were going to be involved in the campaign. So this meant that the survivors we've worked with have been involved from that very first meeting, and they're also going to be there with us until we've finished influencing the first 100 days of a new government later on this year. And I definitely say our survivor engagement specialist was a really critical team member for the project. She supported us to embed duty of care into the campaign and also provided that invaluable emotional support along the way. So she helped with things like creating a terms of reference for the group and a respectful meeting agreement. She also worked really closely with our public affairs manager to brief politicians about taking a trauma-informed approach to speaking with the survivors who were involved in the campaign at the round tables we held. And in terms of our work, from our manifesto development through to our meetings with political decision makers, our voting safely guide and our campaign launch, we've definitely sort of shared laughter, tears, joy, all the emotions along the way. But what we're really clear on is that even though the group was sharing traumatic experiences of how, you know, the perpetrator had economically abused them and often was continuing to abuse them post-separation, as well as how the system was conspiring against them to protect the abuser, only to cause them further harm. We were very much focused on making this campaign about empowering the women we were working with and really creating positive change. I think as the project group meetings went on, you know, the group's rapport really grew, and this project, you know, just ended up being an inspiring and motivating one for everyone involved. And we also learned a lot along the way. So not only did we see the survivors in the group grow in confidence and share their skills with each other, whether that was their legal knowledge or their networking expertise, we also learned so much from them. So we got invaluable input, whether it was an interesting perspective on our manifesto design, which provides the backdrop to my screen here today, whether it was helping us design survivor safety into our campaign action so more women could safely get involved. Their expertise throughout was invaluable. But most importantly, they also helped us set our priorities for what the incoming government needed to do based on what they knew would really make a difference. And these priorities were to 1, support economic abuse survivors, 2, disrupt perpetrators and make sure there's consequences to their actions, and 3, to educate the next generation to prevent economic abuse from happening in the first place. So these priorities, you know, are going to stand the test of time long beyond this campaign. They're now informing our post-election influencing work, and they're also going to help inform the development of the charity's next 3-year strategy. So to conclude, if you're thinking about launching your own campaign and want to co-create it with women with lived experience, I've got 3 tips to share with you today from our campaign. So number 1, carve out the time to meaningfully engage with survivors, because it does take a bit longer, but I definitely say the rewards of working in this way are massive and definitely worth it. 2, make sure you allocate a member of your project team, even if it is just you working on the project, to be responsible for supporting the survivors you're working with, so that that duty of care is really embedded into the campaign. And finally, 3, be prepared to learn, both from the survivors that you're working with, but also from the process itself. You know, I definitely say from our experience, you're not going to get it right the first time, but it'll definitely help inform how you co-produce campaigns with survivors again. And finally, with the election just around the corner, our campaign is far from over. So I really hope that my talk today has inspired you to find out more about surviving economic abuse and our work, but I also hope it's inspired you to support our general election campaign today. So just visit our website to find out more about how you can get involved and how you can stand with economic abuse survivors today. Thank you.
Okay, Stephanie.
Okay. Welcome everyone that's attending, and a huge thank you to the Rosa Foundation for inviting us here to speak on our embedded partnership between Cardiff Women's Aid and BAWSO, and how with that partnership we've effectively been able to support women affected by domestic abuse. Next slide, if that's okay. So to introduce myself, my name is Healey. I'm the Therapeutic Services Manager at Cardiff Women's Aid. We're an organisation that supports women and girls who've been affected by all aspects of domestic abuse and/or violence. We offer a range of support from initial contact and legal crisis support to housing and refuge support to also aftercare and recovery. We aim to support victims and survivors on all aspects of their journey out of domestic abuse.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Edna Sackeyfio. I'm the locality manager for BAWSO, and I work within the RISE project. BAWSO is an organization that offers DV support throughout Wales. We are dedicated to providing practical and emotional support to BME and migrant victims of abuse. For the past 6 years, in collaboration with Cardiff Women's Aid and CLAMI, we have consistently provided holistic support to our BME clients who have experienced FGM, female mutilation, genital mutilation, sexual abuse, which includes marital rape. This is a big one there. And I quote from an ex-client. The day I got married, my husband told me my body belongs to him. So he can have sex with me in the morning, in the afternoon, and I don't have a say. I did not know this wasn't right. Forced marriage, domestic violence, and honor-based violence, which sometimes results in homicide due to the perceived shame brought onto the family by the victim. So for this, the victim is alleged to lead a Western lifestyle or have a boyfriend, or could be seen outside holding hands with a guy or smoking. BAWSO has made a significant impact in the lives of their clients, empowering them within the community, raising safety and DV awareness from a BME perspective. Through advocacy, our clients' voices have been heard, and they have access to the resources they are entitled to. Next slide, please. In the past, Cardiff Women's Aid and BAWSO Cardiff operated as separate DV organizations. However, BME clients who were unaware of BAWSO would sought help from Cardiff Women's Aid. When this happened, the clients were referred to BAWSO due to their specialized services in dealing with BME clients. Transition wasn't always smooth, caused by various challenges, including timing issues. For a BME individual living with their perpetrators, a brief 10 minutes window might be the only chance she may have to seek support. BAWSO clients now have access to Cardiff Women's Aid refugees and support services, which includes recovery programs such as Own My Life and the Phoenix program. The partnership between BAWSO and Cardiff Women's Aid meets the needs of the BME clients, as it reduces the time it takes for the clients to receive support. Because when they go to Cardiff Women's Aid, BAWSO is also present, so there is no referral process necessary. Next slide, please. Cardiff has become a culturally diverse city, which has significantly increased the number of BME clients and migrant victims of abuse. Victims of BME background typically suffer from domestic violence specific to BME households, heavily influenced by cultural values. BME clients that feel in danger at home and wish to flee are in need of a safe accommodation and may also need facilities that will accommodate their religious and cultural values. Access to public funds is another crucial need of the BME, which is subject to their immigration status. Moreover, BMEs feel isolated at the hands of their perpetrators and struggle to integrate. BMEs are unfamiliar with the UK system. They struggle with the legal systems, opening bank accounts, registering with GPs, and even enrolling in colleges. This and language barriers serve as an hindrance to BME engaging with social services, the police, and other professionals. Next slide, please.
BAWSO and Cardiff Women's Aid are now actually in their 7th year of partnership. And over time, we've pooled our resources and expertise to all be under one house, working as one team. So this means that for any woman who is in Cardiff who's in need of domestic abuse support can access the full range of support options that we offer. So this includes our assessments, legal aid, community and housing support, wellbeing support for victims and survivors and their children, and wider access to refuges and safe houses. By working so closely together, we now have shared learning from expertise. We've got a shared vision together of what support should look like, and we've been able to increase our provisions. Next slide, please. Embedding our partnership to work in this way has provided the women we support with autonomy and choice for the type of support they feel they need. They can tell us what they want. By increasing our resources, we've increased safety for all women and girls in Cardiff, along with their access to specialised services and to build a community of women with shared experience. BME women now have a quick response time to specialised services, as my colleague Edna highlighted, and includes adapted support options that are now more ethnically inclusive. However, there is still much more we need to go as Cardiff becomes an ever-increasing diverse community. We're still looking to increase provisions for multilingual counselling services and new safe houses that are adapted for complex needs, such as the intersectionality that can happen with disability and sort of diverse access, but also those who maybe have drug and alcohol, have issues around drug and alcohol. Next slide. I just want to say a huge thank you for your time and for allowing us to talk about our partnership that we praise so heavily. If anybody has any further questions, or whether it's regards to Cardiff Women's Aid or BAWSO or about our partnership, please feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ola Sadria. I know Happy Baby since 2018 when I was pregnant and a member of Happy Baby. I volunteered for 5 years and I had my role in the management team since 2020. It's been 2 years now that I'm a paid staff of the Happy Baby and I'm the manager of the finance and partnership team. Here with me is Varsha and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, good morning, dear all. My name is Varsha Gandhi, and I'm happily working at Happy Baby in the position of Children's Program Manager. My role involves managing in the Children Project. We are currently running along with the management of the team of children volunteers and providing them with the trainings. Can we have next slide, please? As we can see, these quotes highlight the damage caused by child poverty and of the community to help mitigate some of the damages. If reading one quote that says, stress associated with poverty will damage children's brain. It will damage the child's development. The stress that comes with experiencing poverty can overload parents, affecting their interactions and relationship with their babies and children. Healthy child brain development is nurtured by responsive care and stable home environment. Poverty can therefore make it harder for parents to meet their children's emotional and developmental needs, as well as their material needs. Our social security system isn't protecting children from poverty. Can we have next slide, please? I will transfer the slide to my colleague Ola.
Hi again. So, Happy Baby Community supports women who are seeking asylum within London. You are either pregnant or have a child 3 years or under. They have flagged from violence and trafficking. Imagine being pregnant and living in a hotel room with all your family, receiving £8.86 per week, where your child have limited access to food, toys, and play. I will let you think on how can someone make a living in London with £8 a week. I would hand over to Varsha to take you through our services, what we provide for those moms. Over to you, Varsha.
Next slide, please. We provide safe and secure communities for our mums and children through 5 weekly face-to-face groups. 4 of them are running in London and 1 is running in Crawley. We supported around 2,000 women and around 3,000 children with 63% increase in referral in 2023, plus the virtual community days for English and education classes. Can we have next slide, please? As you can see from the slide in the boxes marked in yellow, purple, and blue, this is representing what we do. We have a range of other services like welfare, therapy, practical support, educational programs, children program, and our outstanding perinatal support program. During 2023, referrals increased from an average of 55 per month to 90 per month. We respond to every call, email, WhatsApp, or web referral using the women's own language. We stayed in touch with 2,000 women last year through 70,000 weekly texts in relevant languages. And we have about 280 volunteers, 40% of whom are drawn from the women themselves who are having lived experiences. Can we have next slide, please? So this is the triangle, that's the Maslow's hierarchy triangle we use in Happy Baby. The Maslow hierarchy of needs provide the clearest model to illustrate our impact. So when we developed this model with our staff and volunteers, they were all able to see how their work contributed to the whole community. Now, what amazes me in this organization is the sign up to a collective vision that everyone has. So everyone has the same vision, basically. I will just pick up a few points from this model. The bottom red marks the physiological needs. Many of our women come actually with nothing. So we must start with basics like clothing for children, hospital bags, and buggies. The purple one, the purple bar just above the red one is for the safety. We provide a safe and secure environment for our families. Within our groups, all our volunteers and staff have regular safeguarding training given by a very experienced safeguarding lead. As we go up the triangle, the blue bar represents love and belonging. This is the heart of the Happy Baby community and felt by each and every one of us, staff, volunteers, and community members alike. Women feel that they belong to a community, which many describe as a family. The green marks the esteem. We encourage all our community members to have an employment project, and we run an annual leaders program funded by Rosa for our key volunteers. More than 50% of our staff have the lived experiences. And on the topmost is the yellow, which means thriving. This is our main goal for all our women and children. 100% of our community leaders say that Happy Baby community has been a powerful source of inspiration for them. Can we have next slide, please? Happy Baby community is a unique charity. We not only support our members and service users, but also invest in our staff and volunteers. Our leadership program, which I have mentioned, is funded by Rosa. That is a proof of this commitment. Both Ola and I have completed it. The leadership program helps our staff and key volunteers improve their skills and become successful leaders. We have run around 3 rounds so far, and we are working on the next round right now. I will pass on to my colleague Ola.
Thank you, Varsha. On the next slide, I will be pointing at some of the feedbacks from our leadership graduates this year. One of them is, it was really empowering and inspiring. It was lovely to spend time with everyone, as well as excellent training by the dream team. Wish we had more sessions like this in future. I will leave it with you to read the rest. Next slide, please. All the amazing work we do is done in partnership with our other organizations, some of which are seen on this. Next slide, please. And I want to thank everyone here today, and especially thank Rosa for the support and opportunity to be here and speak our work and for our story. Please do let me know if you have any question in the chat. I will be adding the charity website, the link to our film, and my email and the charity email, also the contact numbers if you need them. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
There we go.
Hi everyone, my name is Dee. My pronouns are she, her, and I am FTWW's Engagement Officer. And I'm joined today by Debbie, and she is FTWW's founder and our Director of Policy and Research. So FTWW, or Fair Treatment for the Women of Wales, is a patient-led women's health equality charity and disabled people's organisation. So we support, advocate for and empower women and people registered female at birth across Wales who are disabled and or living with chronic or recurrent health conditions. Through our online community and in-person activities, FTWW offers a safe space for patients to access peer support, advice and guidance. But crucially, we also enable our members to have their voices heard by Welsh Government, Welsh Parliament committees and healthcare providers, sometimes using the media as a vehicle through which to highlight the issues patients report to us. Next slide, please. A great example of where FTWW's patient advocacy and relationship building with Welsh Government has paid dividends is a campaign we initiated in April called Adenomyosis Action in Wales. So adenomyosis is a very common gynecological disorder affecting at least 1 in 10 women, girls, and people who menstruate. So that's a similar number to those who are affected by diabetes or asthma. Debbie and I are amongst those who have lived and struggled with this condition. And chances are you know many more, even if they haven't been formally diagnosed yet. Adenomyosis can cause significant pain, heavy bleeding, and fatigue. In most cases, it is only formally diagnosed when patients undergo a hysterectomy, an operation to remove their womb. Despite its prevalence and impact, very few have heard of it, and until April 2024, there was no information about it on the NHS Wales's own website. I'll now pass you over to Debbie. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Dee. So over the 10 years that FTWW has been active, we've heard countless and repeated stories from our members about how their various symptoms were not taken seriously by those around them, or how their diagnoses were never fully explained to them by healthcare providers. As Dee has mentioned, many adenomyosis patients are diagnosed following a hysterectomy. This is a major operation and often a last-ditch attempt to resolve seriously debilitating symptoms. One of our members described her experience like this. My surgeon gave me a big thumbs up because I was actually desperate that they did find adenomyosis. We were hopeful that it was causing most of my problems, and I was having a hysterectomy based on that theory. When it was confirmed, it was a massive relief. The validation was so important too, especially when you've spent 20 odd years being told there's nothing wrong with you. So for FTWW, it seemed very wrong that patients could struggle in ignorance for years with what is a fairly common condition. And then when it was diagnosed, be unable to find trusted information about it on what is often a first port of call for health information, the NHS. To address this injustice, for April's Adenomyosis Awareness Month, we decided that FTWW should petition the Senedd to call for information about the condition to be added to its bilingual NHS Wales online A to Z. Following the publication of our petition, concerted social media activity, and making Welsh politicians with an interest in women's health aware of our campaign, it was discussed in plenary, which is where Senedd members from all political parties in Wales come together to debate issues of the day. The campaign then also featured on Wales's national television, radio, and online news, where our members and Dee described their experiences and what we would like to see happen next to improve things. The Cabinet Secretary for Health and Social Care, Eluned Morgan, responded by immediately issuing instructions for the missing web pages to be added, which you can see on our slide. We say that the petition achieved its aim far quicker than we had anticipated. So, in fact, it had only garnered a few hundred signatures at the time action was taken. But this proves how it's not always the number of signatures that makes the difference, but the power of the network you've spent time and effort developing. If you can get your campaign seen and heard by the right people, or people who know or can influence the right people, you can make change happen, so don't be deterred. It's for this reason that we were really pleased to be invited by Rosa to showcase adenomyosis action in Wales and try to summarise our key takeaways from it. Could I have the next slide, please? Firstly, the campaign was timely, taking place at the same time as an international awareness raising month for the condition and in response to our members' experiences. It demonstrates the power of patient voices, not just in terms of making big societal changes, but also to the individuals themselves. Members who shared their stories with us in the build-up to this campaign have been empowered to become FTWW volunteer champions on the condition, representing themselves and others at events and activities where healthcare is discussed and delivered. It demonstrates the importance of taking time to build positive and constructive relationships, which for us include Senedd members, ministers, healthcare providers, and the media, to ensure that our members' voices are actually heard. It also serves as a great example of how we want the upcoming NHS Wales Women's Health Plan to be created, together, in collaboration with public and patients, so that it genuinely reflects our priorities and needs. And I'm now going to pass back to Dee to conclude. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Debbie. So we know that statistically, some of you will be listening thinking, those symptoms sound like mine or like someone you're close to or work with. So please do seek medical advice and do feel free to reach out to FTWW as well for support or signposting or just to find out more about our work. Thank you so much.
So that concludes the today's session with our Rosa grantees, and I hope that you will join me in celebrating what you have heard today. I was so proud to be an organisation that funds these organisations, because what they offer women and what they and to actually to our sector is incredible, and they help to show just how much that I think it was Cecily who talked about being the change that we want to see, and that's such an important message for us and for our sector. And thinking about what Ezra Goldsmith said this morning about retaining our hope, and that our change comes in waves, and we mustn't forget that. So this session is now drawing to a close. I'm sorry we couldn't take any questions. Please do connect with the organisations in the lobby. You can find the speakers, you can email them. I know they'd love to hear from you. Our funder panel has started, and there'll be a networking session later on today as well. I look forward to seeing you later. Thank you.